Good evening, buonasera. My name is Lars Boering, and I was invited by Reggio Emilia to be the host of tonight, which I think is a great honor. I spent 2 days walking through Reggio Emilia, and I'm really impressed by all the exhibitions and all the spaces. I'm going to do a little bit in Italian, but that's just in the start. Thank you for having me over here. Grazie alla città di Reggio Emilia, il sindaco Luca Vecchi, la direzione del festival, Giordano Gasparini, is that okay? Yeah? Elisabetta Farioli, marveloso. If all the World Press Photo winners want to take a seat as well, then we can start. There he is, Fulvio Bogani. There you go. Applause for him, please. Just a small applause. So tonight, what we do is first we'll have a screening of the work of all the Noor photographers, which are at the front row. So once they sit here, the front row will be empty, which is great. I have them all here. And then we'll do some interviews, talk about their work, ask them some difficult questions. The theme of this festival and tonight is a little bit, it's change. So let's talk about change. And afterwards we'll have some time also to talk about the workshop that some of the Noor photographers have been doing. And we'll have the results on screen as well. And then, so let's just start. And I hope you enjoyed this evening. Let's start with the screening of all the fantastic work of the Noor photographers. Grazie.
Italian rescue teams are continuing to try and recover bodies.
Crowded boats carrying around 500 Eritreans and Somalis.
The vessel capsized off the Italian island of Lampedusa.
African migrants hoping to make it to Europe.
From the Pope today, prayers for those who perished.
Viene la parola vergogna. Uomini, donne, bambini.
Global indifference, which led so many to risk their lives.
They were fleeing persecution, war, desperate circumstances.
Britain and others say rescue vessels simply act as a pull factor.
The push factors that drive a lot of these immigrants.
Deeply unethical.
This poisonous debate that we have about immigration, this monstrous race to the bottom.
Over 3,000 people have died this year.
More and more illegal immigration and actually more and more deaths, and that the solution therefore must be to stop the search and rescue operation. Stop trying their luck in the first place.
This policy can be summed up in 3 words: let them drown.
More people are travelling because half of the Middle East is currently burning.
No one is turning a blind eye.
করি 10 জন কি 20 জন হয়, 8 জন হয়। আমার আম্মু ছাড়া কেউ মানে না। যদি যখন অন্যায় করি তখন 5 মিনিটের উপরে তুমি করেন বেশি কাজ করা।
দেখা যাইতেছে পূজা আসতেছে, তারপর 3টা সাইডে এক লগে লাগান লাগে, 2টা নেশা 2টা উপরে।
আমার এখন স্বপ্ন একটাই যে আমারে বেশি ভালোবাসবো বা ভালোবাসা যদি নিয়ে সংসার করে খায় তাহলে তারও ভালো আমারও ভালো।
I'm just pissed off, girl. I'm just pissed off. Come on, don't do that! No, fuck! Fuck! My name is Mike Brown, sir.
Mike Brown.
Mike Brown. He was unarmed, guys. He didn't have a stick. He didn't have a knife. He didn't have nothing. He had his bare hands. These guys got nightsticks, mace, all types. Do it now. Hands up. Don't shoot. Don't shoot. Don't shoot. Hands up. Get back. Hands up.
Don't shoot.
Hands up.
Don't shoot.
Hands up.
Don't shoot.
We got no funds, no good education. All we got is our voice, nigga. And all we got is our fucking voice, man.
Shoot back! Shoot back! Shoot back!
This ain't the first, this ain't the second, nor the third. It's here today, you gone today. Fuck tomorrow.
A few seconds after he screamed, I heard 4 shots, a pause, then a 5th shot. I think I had never seen it. It was crazy to me. I felt like they took all our rights away from us that day. I don't know, I was hoping somebody would help me so I can move forward.
That's where we can't see anything. As a former law enforcement officer, I am disgusted with what happened here today. This is our life as Black Americans in this country, year after year after year.
Don't forget the credits. Thank you for this. I would like to invite to the stage Bonet, Kadir van Lohuizen, Andrea Bruce, Francesco Zizola, John Lowenstein, Benedicte Kurzen. Kadir, let me start with you. I gave you the microphone. I'll just sit here. And 7 years of Noor. You're one of the thriving forces behind Noor, I must say. What has changed in these 7 years? You started off in 2008?
What has changed? Well, we're in the middle of the 7-year age, actually, so it's all good. We started in 2007. Obviously, the idea was from longer before. It was, I think it was Stanley and me sitting in a bar late night during Katrina in New Orleans. But we've grown. I think we started with 8, and we are 12 now. So not to say that we want to get much bigger, but yeah, although it has been difficult times, I think we shouldn't complain, and we should be proud that we're still here.
You're the owners of your own company, which is interesting for photographers that many times work on their own. Does that, you've been involved with other agencies before, but does that give you strength to work together?
Yeah, I think, if I can speak for all, I don't know if I can, but I think the reason why we started Noor is that we felt that you can be strong on your own, but being united, it's different. And especially in these times, I think it's very important that we have to make a fist, and that we stand for what we stand for, which is integrity, which is honesty, which is trying to show true, something which is true. We work together as well. We do group projects together, so we can do collective projects in a relative short time. We teach, as some of you know today, which is really important because we think that there's really a need that we don't keep the knowledge to ourselves, but that we transfer this as well.
John, if you can take the microphone.
Sure.
Yeah. Working together on group projects, how does that feel? Most of the time you work by yourself, right? And then together with the group you find these common topics. Did you do that before you were with Noor? Did you also do group work with other photographers?
Beforehand, I didn't do too much of it. I think it's a great thing because we can go and look at different issues that are important globally in a pretty rapid time, and then build on that over a period of years, which is what's happened with the consequences, solutions, and climate change project that you see today at the exhibition. So it's pretty exciting, and I think we can also take it a step further in the future by getting it out into even more platforms. So we're kind of excited to do that.
Is working together, so we saw at the beginning a statement, what Noor is about, or at least there were several statements. Does working together and working on this group show raise the awareness with the audience and with the editors that are also involved in the work?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, working together is something that if you try to do it yourself, it might take, several years. When we work on a group project together, we can get it out, do it in a shorter time because you're taking the collective energy of 10 or 12 people on a project, and they're going and using our, we all work together to brainstorm, produce it, and then show it. And that can be shown in editorial outlets, exhibitions, social media, video, you name it, and then it goes out into the world. It's really pretty wild.
A lot of the work we've seen on the screen is involving photography, moving images. You do it yourself. Has that changed the way you work on photography or has it changed your approach to visual journalism?
Doing short films.
Yeah, short film, or the combination with photography and video.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's trying to experiment to find the way to bring together the vision that you have as a still photographer into the film world, and that takes time to develop. So that's definitely a collaborative process, as Pep knows a lot about, obviously. So
let's move to Pep. Can you hand Pep the microphone? Pep, are you still a photographer?
Sorry?
Are you still a photographer?
I am a photographer, yeah. The reason that I moved to filmmaking doesn't mean that I'm not a photographer. I think I take advantage of the photographer side. But I moved into filmmaking for several reasons. One was somehow the editorial market, which I never got along very well, to be honest. And I think now I started with multimedia, the combination of photography, testimonies, moving image, and music, and hoping to find the market for that. But lately, last 2 years, I found out that the market doesn't really exist, so I moved into real filmmaking and moved into the big screen, and I think it's a chance, to get the stories to a much bigger, wider audience, That is the thing that really motivated me. The reason I started is because these cameras that we're using, the Nikon cameras, all of a sudden they could make photographs at the same time as good videos. So that was the main reason. And the second is, to bring photography and filmmaking and these important stories like the short piece I've been showing you today on child slavery and sexual exploitation of girls, to bring this into film festivals, into TV, into broadcasts, into exhibitions, I think the exposure you get with films is much wider. So in a way, I feel more of a journalist, of a storyteller nowadays than some years ago.
We talked about this a little bit. You just mentioned that. So multimedia, we don't even know if we have to use that word anymore. You talk about documentary, about film. That has changed a lot. Do you think there is, you achieve more with a real documentary, if we can call it a real documentary?
Definitely, yes.
Why is that?
I mean, as a photographer, I always felt a sort of a limitation, We go to those places, we hear these people talk, we photograph them, and then we write these captions, which a lot of the people don't even read, I mean, if your photographs are strong enough, people might get interested in those things, All of a sudden, to be able to communicate with these people, record their testimonies, be part of their stories, and have those voices speaking instead of you, I think it made me much more interested in hearing more, And as I said before, the audience, deserves these things, All of a sudden, it's not a photographer explaining you what's the story about, but people explaining you what the story about. I also have to say that for making good films, good documentaries, if the access is not very complex or very complicated, it's teamwork. If you can work with a good producer and a good journalist, to direct the interviews, and a good editor and a good sound man, the team is what makes these pieces more exciting, and everyone puts their own experience in this combination of medias, And I think at the end, you can get results that are, a lot more catching than only a simple photograph. I mean, I don't want to take credit for these guys because they make tremendous photographs, and I've been doing photography for 15 years. But I mean, I made a move, and I'm just like a little kid with a new toy,
Benedicte, I'm sitting next to you. Does this change changing his work? I can. So if you can give to Andrea. Yeah, we're pushing all the microphones to the end. I can use this microphone. Listening to Pep, does that influence you? Does that make you want to work with video as well?
I think it's more about storytelling. It's how you feel comfortable with it. I worked on a movie in January and also last year. I was as a camera woman. It's very specific. I mean, it's a different practice. It's a different craft. So for now, I would say I'm very fine with working on my own. The whole team thing that Pep described, it's just a different craft. But ultimately, we are here to tell stories. That's That's what matters. Yeah.
We saw work on Ebola, but you now work on a story in Nigeria, the north of Nigeria. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean it's a long story for me because it started in 2011, and I was just there 2 weeks ago, and some women and children were freed from. I don't know if some of you have heard about Boko Haram. So I was there to try to take pictures of them, but it was a big media circus, and also it's complicated to take pictures of those women. You know, it raises a lot of ethical questions. Do you say their names? No. Do you show their faces? No. And what do you do when you have in front of you women who have gone through so much? So it was very delicate and complicated. Maybe I'll do something a bit more extensive later, but I felt it was, you know, it's a difficult part of the world where you can work. Ebola was complicated as well, but you know, you need to give it time. And I think that's the specificity also of our group, is that we are working over time. We do assignments, we can cover the news, we can be fast, but ultimately we have those ongoing obsession, you know, and that's why maybe we get along with each other so well.
All of you are obsessed, changing the world. Because if you abandon us, so you abandon the story for now on these girls who were liberated from Boko Haram. But there's a lot. So you tell me there's a lot of colleagues there, a lot of photographers, a lot of media. Do you get into debates with them about whether they should work on this story or not?
I'm always inviting photographers or journalists to come to Nigeria. Always, of course, yeah, because if you live somewhere, if you have embraced people, a country, and the fate of those people and what they are going through from the north, the south, different parts, you want it to be shared. It's not about having a territory and keeping it for yourself. So yeah, Pep, come and do some documentary there.
Andrea, can photography or visual journalism change the world? That's a very open question, but
yeah.
Say yes.
I would hope. I mean, at the very least, I think we have to remind people of what's happening in the world altogether. I mean, I think people all over the world have a responsibility to pay attention, and if we can encourage people to do that, it'll affect the world in ways that I believe we can't see immediately often, but it brings the world together in ways that takes down barriers and erases borders and differences. As long as we can see each other as humans or see the world as something, a commonplace.
Can you give an example of your own work where you notice this change, where it's really, things matter, you show it? Is there a great example of you and your work changing things?
I'm not really sure. I mean, I try. My audience is mostly the United States, people in the United States. I work a lot for the New York Times and other U.S. publications, and I think more than ever, more than anyone, Americans have a habit of looking at themselves all too often. So my purpose is to try to get people to pay attention to places like Iraq and Afghanistan, where we have tremendous influence at the moment, and for people to look outside themselves and really pay attention to the lives they really can affect.
Francesco, I'm going to use this little friend because you're going to answer in Italian.
I will answer in Italian for the respect of the majority of the public. It would be, you will understand after a week in Italy in Rome, at least, I hope so. Thank you.
I only hear Italian in my ear, so I just let me see if I can follow the Italian. We saw a great piece on you scuba diving in the Mediterranean. What made you choose this approach? Because it's about, of course, the emigration topic. Why did you choose this way of showing us this work?
Well, innanzitutto ho scelto di raccontare l'immigrazione perché è parte di un percorso che sto facendo di racconto che riguarda anche i cambiamenti climatici. È una storia, l'immigrazione e i grandi spostamenti migratori sono in parte conseguenza, come spiegavo oggi alla presentazione della mostra, di cambiamenti climatici che poi condizionano la vita delle persone in luoghi non tanto poi lontani da quello in cui viviamo noi e che cercano quindi di raggiungere una sicurezza alimentare, una sicurezza fisica che lì non è garantita, quindi scappano da condizioni molto terribili di vita. Il modo con cui ho scelto di raccontare questo, un aspetto della lunga storia dell'immigrazione, è dovuto al fatto che io credo che sia necessario, così come qualche mio collega ha sottolineato, trovare 1000 modi diversi, 1000 modalità e anche cercare i linguaggi che sono capaci di raggiungere oggi la maggioranza del pubblico, delle persone. E come sappiamo i media, la stampa sta vivendo una crisi che non è soltanto una crisi economica ma anche una crisi di linguaggio, una crisi di struttura, di come sono strutturati i media e le nuove tecnologie ci stanno indicando che le persone iniziano a comunicare in modo diverso tra di loro e le modalità di questa comunicazione stanno cambiando radicalmente il modo anche di intendere il mondo, di vedere il mondo. Diciamo accompagnare queste nuove modalità anche facendo uno sforzo che è conciliatorio, se vogliamo, che rispetta la provenienza culturale che ci appartiene, che è quella della fotografia classica, con dei linguaggi che qualcuno direbbe televisivi, che non sono televisivi affatto, che sono però elaborazioni dell'immagine più sofisticate, anche se all'apparenza sembrano semplici, che coinvolgono operazioni anche di comunicazione attraverso i suoni. Il mio pezzo, ti ringrazio per i complimenti, ma non era così perfetto come avrei voluto perché abbiamo mandato in onda una versione per la televisione, appunto, che è un po' in bassa definizione. Ma in ogni caso il mio pezzo aveva tutta una colonna sonora che anch'essa vuole comunicare qualcosa attraverso i suoni che abbiamo assemblato, che non è una semplice registrazione di ciò che c'era, come le immagini fisse, le fotografie che ho usato insieme ai video hanno voluto enfatizzare un aspetto di questo particolare dramma che è avvenuto a Lampedusa, di fronte al porto di Lampedusa, in cui sono morti 375 immigrati, per la maggioranza provenienti dall'Eritrea. Ho voluto tornare dopo un anno, quasi un anno da questo disastro, sul battello, un battello da pesca che potrebbe legalmente portare 30 persone, in cui però viaggiavano 500 persone fra uomini, donne e bambini, anche per scoprire io stesso che cosa questo battello può ancora rappresentare per noi e per raccontarlo a tutti. Noi in quel battello abbiamo un po' perso un'occasione, cioè quella di, attraverso la politica, attraverso l'aiuto, l'assistenza, quella di dimostrare a noi stessi innanzitutto che prima della politica, prima delle ragioni economiche, esistono le ragioni umane, esistono le ragioni dei diritti di tutti, di vivere, di sopravvivere in questo pianeta.
All of you applaud. They're all looking at me like I'm going to explain it in this. Hold on to that microphone one more time, because was it was it hard to convince, this piece was made also for television, right? Was it difficult to convince the media to show the work like this, to get this approach, to change the way you work and to find an audience through them?
No, stranamente no. E forse provo a trovare una ragione, forse perché i media hanno sempre fino a un anno fa hanno coperto male o per niente il dramma delle migliaia di persone, decine di migliaia di persone che muoiono nel Mediterraneo, nel nostro mare, chiamato Mare Nostrum. E quindi forse la mia proposta è arrivata nel momento giusto, in cui probabilmente ho agito un po' sul senso di colpa, di non aver troppo, di non essersi occupati come media di questo argomento. Forse è arrivata in coincidenza di un anniversario. Sta di fatto che il mio lavoro fotografico, con le tradizionali fotografie still photography, noi diciamo, è stato pubblicato dai maggiori settimanali di tutto il mondo, dal Giappone alla Germania, alla Francia, agli Stati Uniti, all'Italia, e i due filmati, ho prodotto due filmati diversi. Uno è stato trasmesso dalla televisione inglese Channel 4, non a caso, perché gli inglesi sono quelli che hanno poi insistito per interrompere le operazioni di search and rescue, di salvataggio, di ricerca e salvataggio degli immigrati. Anzi, come l'audio ha sottolineato, un deputato durante una seduta parlamentare ha addirittura detto che dobbiamo lasciarli annegare, così gli altri impareranno che non è cosa da fare. E l'altro media che ha usato la versione video è un nuovo website di notizie italiano, che è internazionale.it, che non è più da un anno soltanto il Mirror, lo specchio del settimanale che esce cartaceo in edicola, ma stanno tentando una nuova strada sperimentale di creare un nuovo sito di informazioni aggiornato ogni minuto. Quindi loro hanno usato nella sezione video questo nuovo reportage.
No applause this time.
Then I will explain to you.
Thank you. John? Yes, can you get the microphone? And please give the other one to Kadir. John?
Yeah, I want to go back to the idea of whether the work we do changes the world. And I would say the question is, can photography change the world? Can photography change actions of people? Can photography change actions of governments? And I would say what's happening right now in the United States with the whole anti-police brutality movement is holding government and state power accountable through witnessing by citizens using technology, phone technology, in a number of ways. And we saw that in the beginning of the Ferguson movement with If I Were Gunned Down through social media, which was really questioning the role of media, corporate media, and how people are represented after they've been killed. And then we've seen on a number of occasions throughout the last year, moments where the state has said that they were justified in shooting and killing, citizens, black men, directly, and then witnesses taking the video and releasing it, and it leading to convictions, or at least some charges being brought. And this is, and I wouldn't just limit it to citizens. I would say that the press's role is also very important in holding accountable state power. And so, when people say that it's not important, I think it's vital that we continue to witness, continue to show, and continue to get out there and tell these stories, because without it, I just think the individual and we lose more and more of our human rights. And so that's what I would say. I think it's an affirmative that it's, whether you're able to see direct change all the time, it's vital to hold them accountable. Yeah.
Kadir? Oh, Benedicte. you want to add to this? Please.
No, it's funny also that what John says is very true. It applies also to Nigeria. When journalists say it's difficult to have access, it's not a vague word. It's also a word that means that somebody somewhere has decided that documents, evidence, massacres, people suffering shouldn't be documented and therefore shouldn't be seen and known. And guess what? It's exactly what happened. And this year, in the northern part of Nigeria, there's been a war. No access from the military, no access on the ground because it's just too dangerous. And we had a war with thousands of people who've been abducted, thousands of young girls who've been raped, kidnapped, and pregnanted, God knows what, young boys. Nobody knows what's actually happened there. And we're gonna have to make a really, really intensive work to undig out of the ground all those stories, because at that time where it happened, we couldn't prevent it because nobody was there to document it.
Good. Kadir? I'm going to switch a little bit from topic because I think it's a very good point, and I think the journalistic part of it is very important. You have changed, Kadir, you have changed your way of working a lot the last couple of years. For you, journalistic research is still at the core of what you do and what you think Noor is about. How important is that for you? How important is to keep the standards high and to fight this battle, to have genuine, strong journalism be part of photography?
Well, crucial, obviously, and I think basically that's why we are in one group, because I think we all very strongly believe that this is so important. We've seen the media changing. Often we are a little bit reluctant even to work for mainstream media. I think it's crucial, let me speak for myself, that I can initiate my own stories, and that I'm not waiting for someone to tell me what to do. And we actually had a discussion this afternoon on the terrace between some of us, that it happens so often that media gives us an assignment which and the layout is already there, what the story has to be, what angle you have to shoot it from, what message you actually have to bring home. Journalism, for us, is that you actually investigate. You don't know, that's why you're out there. That's why you're going to investigate what the story will be. There is no answer before you start. The answer will be there when it's done, or at least there will be something on the table. And I think that's really what I'm trying to guard, is that I don't lose my independence. So whatever way I can find to communicate to an audience, whether it's with stills or with text or with video or with audio or with an app or a book or a newspaper, it doesn't matter. I mean, as long as it reaches an audience and makes people aware of what's going on.
Is that fight become harder to fight for your own story, to not go with a story that people want you to make? Is that become more difficult?
No, it became more interesting.
In what way?
I honestly believe. I mean, I think we have. When I started as a photographer, which was in the late 80s, I was shooting film. If I had to do a story, I had to go, and I wanted to do research. I was going to a library. I was making copies out of books, out of reports. It was hard sometimes, right? And then you had to buy the films, the paper, the chemicals, and you would send like a set of prints to a magazine, and they probably wouldn't run it. The trick was to get the prints back. That was already the effort. So now I think with the internet and everything that's on the table right now, and the way we can communicate, I think it became more interesting. And I think we can reach a wider audience. So It's good time.
It's a good time. You agree?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not sure. The thing that I completely agree with Kadir on this, and I think that there's the traditional outlets and the traditional way of thinking changed a number of years ago, and now it's like the whole photographic and communication world is opening up all over the world. And so for me, I think it's one of the most amazing times you can find information about things going on in lots of places. I think the tough thing sometimes is to judge, to filter what that is and where it's coming from and who's talking and why are they talking and where is it. That's really changed. So the rules of the game have changed a little bit, but it's a fascinating time.
But I do sense optimism in this debate.
Sure.
Yeah, you're smiling, which is because is optimism. So Andrea, is optimism a difficult thing if you concern yourself about? Well, these are very difficult topics, right? Sometimes it's very. Some of the audience might even think it's hard to look at, but I think that's the importance. But are you optimistic about bringing forward these issues and showing the work? Is it possible for you to do it the right way?
Yeah, I think we definitely can. I think as a group, more than as individuals, definitely. I mean, we all learn from each other. We're inspired by each other. We test each other. We push each other to be better at storytelling. And for us and Noor, it's important. I think all of us are struggling in this field to try to figure out the magic way of getting the stories across. And in a world where, 35 million photos a day are posted to Facebook, it's like, how do photos really mean anything anymore? And it's the stories behind them that really matter. So no matter how it is, how we do it. And in a way, having so many photos in the world makes everyone more visually literate. Everyone understands photography on a different level today than I think they did even 10 years ago. So it can be exciting. You have 13-year-olds posting to Instagram and telling their life story now. So,
Francesco, do you feel responsible for the whole group of photographers that are involved in journalistic work and photo documentary to do it right? Is that a mission of you and Noor in itself to fight for these values?
Diciamo che siamo insieme un po' anche per questo noi, lo ripeto, cioè per cercare un modo, ognuno secondo in libertà di coscienza, ma un modo per continuare a raccontare storie con le immagini, con i suoni, con l'immagine in movimento, che possano suggerire e stimolare una riflessione critica sul mondo, sulla realtà che ci circonda. Tutti hanno detto sì, siamo d'accordo, noi questo lo condividiamo, però naturalmente non è così semplice, cioè bisogna che qualcuno lo dica qui nel gruppo che non è semplice, lo stesso per noi, riflettere sullo status dell'immagine, sul status dell'immagine giornalistica, su quello che significa oggi raccontare e relazionarsi con la realtà e raccontarla a un pubblico che è sempre più consapevole della complessità della realtà. È cambiato moltissimo negli ultimi 10 anni, ma non solo perché sono cambiati i media, ma perché le persone sono più consapevoli, no? Del fatto che non basta più una versione, bisogna saperla arricchire di dettagli, bisogna saperla arricchire di tante relazioni. Ora, il bello di questo gruppo è che non ci spaventiamo della complessità che anche il dibattito interno a volte presenta. È una complessità di dibattito molto importante che mi sembra che tu stesso ne hai assaggiato un po' qualche mese fa all'edizione del WordPress Photo che avevi appena iniziato a dirigere, e che comporta domande importanti su che cos'è la realtà, come si può rappresentare, quanto la fotografia ancora oggi può essere credibile in relazione alla realtà, quanto il giornalismo ancora può offrire in questa direzione o meno, a che condizioni, con quali regole. Insomma, anche tra di noi che siamo insieme con uno scopo comune, che è quello appunto di sviluppare un racconto, una narrazione per un cambiamento sociale, per una maggiore consapevolezza della realtà, anche attraverso, diciamo, le nostre singole integrità abbiamo di che discutere. Immagino che anche all'esterno ci siano tutte queste domande. È vero che positivamente noi diamo delle risposte, cioè cerchiamo di guadagnarci sul campo e con i nostri esempi la credibilità delle nostre storie, e siamo disposti anche a provare che quello che facciamo può essere credibile, è credibile.
Pep, can you get the microphone? Francesco explained about the, I'm not going to repeat all of it, but it was about credibility and about genuine work and protecting all of the great values. But this afternoon, when we talked about this talk tonight, you also mentioned that we should be open for change and experiment and enjoy what you do. How do you think about this changing and trying to find new ways, be excited about changing the way you work, but also to, well, not be conservative, but move forward? How do you, what is your, do you have any solution for that?
Yeah, well, going back a little bit to what Kadir said, I think, I think the cancer of our profession would be these preconceived ideas, when people are expecting something from us, and I've been, in my experience, going to places, and that written story has nothing to do with what I've seen, And I think the death of this profession would be us filling those spaces with whatever these editors want to see, I think out of this frustration, I found different ways of doing the work, And I think one of the main words that we keep on repeating in this agency is integrity, And for myself, I always follow my heart. I follow my instinct, and I like the stories a bit more underground, not what's on the news at the time of shooting the story, And basically, yeah, it's a combination of my past and the hope we have for the future, And I think all this technology, it's bringing us new ways and new ways of telling stories, But still, I am hopeful, that some change is going to come. But we are all responsible, How many times you see news on TV or you see our stories? What do you do? What do we do? Nothing, And sometimes it takes to get a little pissed off, a little angry, And I think also if you can see things happen and you can react to it, that's a positive news, That people react, that you react to what you don't like, I think it arrives a point where you are bombarded with images and news and all under one umbrella, I think doing different things and showing them to different audiences and especially make people react. That's what I'm after.
But but in changing that, so we're here at a photo festival, and you are moving towards documentary. Do you feel caught between two worlds? Would you also be part of a documentary festival in the future, or are you already maybe part of it?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I don't apply for photo awards anymore. I mean, what I'm doing basically last year is to go to film festivals and pitch my stories to broadcast to TVs. We have some distributors that sell our stories in TVs worldwide.
Is it a different world?
It's a very different world. It's a different world, but it's a learning process for me too, And I think photographers, we have the ability to work a bit faster than traditional filmmakers because we're used to work by ourselves, And somehow we achieve very fast the storytellings, even though I like to I like to work long enough in my stories that I sort of become an specialist somehow, no? That you have to be able to talk about the subjects you're dealing with.
Okay. Benedicte, I'm going to have one final round of questions, and then we'll go see the workshop, because that's also about transferring your experience to others. How long have you been with Noor now?
2 years. 3 years.
What's the biggest thing you gained from being with Noor?
I think just to find a family.
It helps you to, it's strengthening what you do.
Yeah, it's very encouraging. I mean, we support each other a lot. And also not only professionally speaking, which is really important, but personally speaking, because you can imagine that all of that is a bit complicated in a private sphere.
Kadir, you've been with Noor for a longer time. What was the biggest thing that was different when you started with Noor? What was different?
I had lots of time. I think that you feel that you're not alone. That a lot of colleagues who have a same frame in their minds, how they work and what they believe in, and that it's not just about money. And that I think what I gained is friendship, criticism, feedback. You know, I mean, it's not. I think we bring each other further because we are also able to criticize each other, to look at each other's work and say that you fucked up or that you did very well. Mm-hmm. And I think this is really necessary to grow in what you're doing and what you believe in. So I think, yeah, I would do it again.
You would do it again. Okay, thank you. Thank you for being on this stage for now. You have taught the workshop. Andrea has. Pep has. So, no, you're not, huh? No. Stanley, we should ask Stanley. So please do keep your seat. Thank you very much, and I would like to have Stanley on stage as well. Stanley Greene. And Sebastian. Yes. Sebastian Liste. There he is. Have a seat. Yes, please. You want some water? I want some water too. It's hot here under these lights. For the last days, you have been teaching a workshop. How important, Stanley, how important is it to teach workshops with people that are committed to photography?
It's all about giving something back. I mean, it's one of the things about Noor is that we felt when we created the agency that we had to have some element of education. So we feel it's super important to, kind of pass the baton onwards and constantly find younger talent to carry it, and keep the flame of photojournalism alive. And also to instill our values, which is for us is about integrity, as it was mentioned. But for me, more importantly, it's about humanity. It's about understanding that the people that you're photographing are not there just for you to win an award, and never lose sight of that. And that this job is about a lot more than what some people make it out to be. And I hope that within these workshops, we're able to convey that. And watching my colleagues run their workshops the last few days, and seeing the work that they've shown and getting the reaction back from my group, I think we may have made some inroads on that.
Sebastian, how was it to teach workshop here in Reggio Emilia?
One thing that I understand here, spending some time with Stanley, is we are not teaching, we are aspiring, actually. So this is something really important for me. And I think we were inspiring these guys. Yeah, really. It was a really positive experience for all of us. I think they are happy. We were working in a very tight you know, the really tight deadline. The work that you will see now is just shot in one day, the specific topics. So it was a kind of challenge for all of them. And yeah, so we will have a great time teaching here, inspiring them.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's good experience. Andrea, what did the students teach you?
Well, it taught me definitely that there are a lot of really kick-ass female photographers coming up in the world, which is good to see. Yeah, that the reason why people become photographers to begin with is still there. You know, people care and people want to give other people a voice, and that's the reason why people were taking this course.
John, was it a successful 2 days? We're going to look at the result, of course. Or is a workshop always successful because you transfer knowledge and well, it's transferring inspiration also, I think?
Yeah, I mean, to me, the workshop was the idea of any time you're interacting with people and students or people who pick up a camera is to try to just get them to think differently about how they approach their work. And, you know, that, when I got the assignment, it forced me to think differently too. And then it forced me to kind of, you know, it forced actually all of us, I think, to challenge the students and ourselves to push them on a pretty difficult assignment, but to not give up. And that, I think, is a really big lesson, is to really, it's always about perseverance. And I tried to let them know that really you're going to get some assignments that you won't know what to do with. But each one, to the last student in my group, they came up with pictures and an approach that was totally surprising, that reflected essentially where they were at sort of emotionally. And like one student lost his card and he got up at 5 in the morning and went out again, and he brought in really good pictures. And another student was just totally baffled and felt out of place, but like kept on persevering. And that was part of the edit, and part of the conversation we had was, how does he feel? And how he feels is a part of how you take the pictures, and that's only one day, right? So it was really cool. It was good, yeah.
Good to hear. Thank you very much. We're going to have a look at the work.
And
thank you. Yes,
we have a former student from the Noor master classes in Istanbul here, Nadia, so it's good to see.
There you go.
Fellow students.
They follow you around, right?
Well,
Thank you very
about that,
much.
but-
Let's have a look at the work and see what the results brought us. Thank you very Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. Noor photographers will be here the next couple of days. Be inspired by them. Talk to them. Their books are in the bookshop. It's an honor for me to be on the stage. I wish the cooperation with Fotografia Europea and Reggio Emilia and World Press Photo will continue. And I wish you all a good night. Thank you.